Rules of decorum. No person attending a public meeting shall engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct, including but not limited to applause, whistling, stamping of feet, booing, or making any loud, threatening, profane, abusive, personal, or slanderous utterance that disturbs, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. All remarks by members of the public shall be addressed to the mayor or the chair and not to any other member of the public or any other single council, board, or commission member, unless in response to a question from the member. Signs, placards, banners, or other similar items shall not be permitted in the audience during a public meeting if the presence of such item disturbs, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. All persons attending a public meeting shall remain seated in the seats provided unless addressing the body at the podium or entering or leaving the meeting. All persons attending a public meeting shall obey any lawful order of the presiding officer to enforce the rules of decorum. Treat everyone courteously, listen to others respectfully, exercise self-control, give open-minded considerations to all viewpoints, focus on the issues and avoid personalizing debate, embrace respectful disagreement and dissent as democratic rights that are inherent components of an inclusive public process and roles for forging sound decisions.
Bringing the Carson Reclamation Authority meeting for Monday, February the 2nd, 2026 to order. Authority Secretary, roll call.
Thank you, Authority Vice Chair, Hicks. Thank you for that. Roll call. Board Member Hobson?
Present.
Board Member Thomas?
Here.
Board Member Aldridge is absent. Authority Vice Chair Hicks?
Here.
And Authority Chair Davis Holmes is absent at this time.
Yes, excuse absent.
Okay, excuse absence. Thank you.
Now we have our flag salute by Hobson.
Please stand.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Invocation by Thomas.
Please bow. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for yet another year, another opportunity that you are giving us to continue to lead this great city. We're thankful for all of our elected officials, the staff, and all those who work with the residents and the businesses to make this city a success. All of our investors, all of our contractors, we're grateful for all of them, and we pray for nothing but success as we continue to go through this year, 2026. Be with us as we make decisions. We pray that our decisions will be of one accord and will be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. Keep us healthy, keep us strong, and keep us united as one. For it is in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Authority Council closed session item.
Yes, Honorable Vice Chair, board members, the board will be convening in closed session on a real estate negotiation item, which is authorized pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding the property known as Cells 3, 4, and 5 located at 2400 South Main Street in the city of Carson. The authority's real property negotiators will seek direction from the authority board regarding the status and the price and terms of payment for the property.
Thank you. Authority Secretary, any public comments for closed session items?
No, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. About how long we need to be in recess? 20, 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay, we're going to go into closed session for 30 minutes. We should be back at about 4:35. We're now in recess. Second half? The video? Reconvening the CRA meeting from closed session. Authority Council, please report out.
Yes, Vice Chair. Board met in closed session regarding real property negotiations concerning the property that's located at cells 3, 4, and 5 at 2040 400 South Main Street in the city of Carson. The closed session was authorized pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, and the staff and legal counsel gave a status update to the board, and a discussion was had, but there was no reportable action taken.
Thank you for that. Staff, did you have a presentation?
I have a presentation. It's on the,
On
it's
the
on the,
agenda?
yeah, it's at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
So we could
perfect.
do the rest of the agenda first.
You have oral communications for matters listed on the agenda? Authority Secretary?
I have none, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Item number, not number 2, approval for the following the minutes. Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
It's been properly moved and second. Roll call. You can. Make it easier.
Okay, can we still vote on the machine too?
Yeah, we can. If you already got it set up, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's up.
Okay. Do about the machine.
Is it up?
Nope.
Oh,
It's not up.
okay. Well, that's strange. I'm gonna do it manually here, and then I'll do a roll call vote
Okay.
just so that we can. So, I guess I'll do the roll call vote first, so I know what to put. Okay, Board Member Hobson.
Yes.
Okay, that's a yes for you. Board Member Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. And Authority Vice Chair Hicks.
Yes.
Thank you. So it is a unanimous vote for the 3 present, and the minutes will reflect that Authority Chair Davis Holmes and Board Member Aldridge are absent.
Thank you.
I don't know why that's not.
It didn't pop up. Maybe because that, I don't know. It's on the,
Maybe. Well, that you all should still have it because I see it on my screen, but that's okay.
all right. Item number 3, 4, 5, and 6, consent items.
Move
Motion
approval of consent.
Second.
So we will pull that item.
So we will pull item number 5. We are approving items 3, 4, and 6. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Madam Clerk.
That's my job. Okay, I'm marking it here. I don't know why it's not working, but I have it noted here.
Just helping you out just a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Motion carries.
All right. Back to item number 5. Staff report, please.
So this item and the recommendation in the agenda is incorrect where it says the 5th amendment. This is actually the 6th amendment with Carson Goose owner. They're the developers of cells 3, 4, and 5. A couple of things. One is that it extends the closing date on the transaction to October 21st of this year, 2026. And the second thing is it streamlines and clarifies the timing of when the developer is obligated to make the Leonardo Drive developer payment. And I don't know if the Authority Council wants to add anything to that, but the developer, Brendan Kotler, with Carson Goose owner is here if you want to let him get up and make some comments on it. And again, the Authority Council might want to weigh in on some of the language in the agreement.
Thank you for that. Any of the council the directors want to have any comments? Any comments? My colleagues?
Not yet.
The applicant, anything you want to state? Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good afternoon. I am Brendan Kotler on behalf of Carson Goose owner. I always take the opportunity to come and speak with y'all. I'm excited for the director's update on Leonardo Drive construction. That'll be a good one. Um, as to the matter before you, it is the Sixth Amendment. I do have to correct the director a little bit. The closing actually has already been extended via a separate written document related to a settlement agreement that was handled, I believe, in closed session earlier this year. This is just more of a kind of reconciliation of the record so that we have a complete set of documents when it comes to the transaction. On that point, if you guys remember, at this point, we're getting close to a year, which is on this project a very short amount of time, but for everybody else, a long period of time. You came before you with an amended and restated option agreement that actually cleaned up and modified quite a few terms. Uh, that was heard by this board. The board actually voted to approve with a few changes related to some transaction limitations as to the retail portion of the site. That agreement, despite being approved by the board, was never actually executed for various reasons. None of them having to do with the material in the agreement, but just as the market continued to change. We still intend, and I know that legal counsel for the board still intends on bringing back to you guys a new amended and restated option agreement, because having this many amendments to an old option agreement can get kind of burdensome. Um, and we see the terms as to any payment for Leonardo Boulevard to be kind of captured within that. So I think we just have a little bit more work to do with legal counsel and with the director as to how these payments should be handled. That being said, we are aware that the board and specifically the CRA itself are working tirelessly to try to move this project forward, both on the road and to see us move forward, and are actually working towards incentivizing us to do so. And we certainly appreciate that. And so our goal is to reconcile any issues we have with legal counsel on this document as soon as we possibly can, so that the board can move forward with its planned actions in terms of both Leonardo and any other works beyond Leonardo. Um, yeah, again, happy to be here. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have. Um, again, we continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with the board and the CRA to move this project forward. Most notably financially, we continue to be the financial backstop to this project and to the board and to the CRA itself, and look forward to actually delivering on a pretty exceptional project here, breaking ground this summer.
Wait a minute, you said that very quickly. Breaking ground
I mean it.
this summer.
I mean it. I mean it. You guys are aware of certain financing tools that have become available to us that we are looking forward on partnering with the CRA on. All of those opportunities seem to be very time sensitive, and as you guys have lived and learned with this project, you need deadlines. And I know board member Thomas has been is more than happy to pound the table in that respect, as I'm sure you all are. But we have some real deadlines with certain availability of funds, and so we're excited to move forward. We've got really exciting news to share. Maybe not necessarily now, a little bit premature, but I'm happy to discuss separately, subject to any sort of Brown Act limitations, of course. But there's a lot of positive momentum, despite the fact that the market, generally the commercial real estate market, still is really challenging, specifically in Southern California, actually specifically with regard to logistics, which a majority of the site still has a logistics component to it. That remains very challenging. The site remains very challenging. I think what you'll see in the presentation that I got a really quick sneak preview of is even simple things. Like the simplest thing you can imagine on this site is not simple. But what you guys have that this board has not had in the past, and frankly, what this site has not had in the past, is a group of dedicated people working on site that refuse to get frustrated, that take as much of the kind of all the hits, and they keep getting better, and they get smarter, and they just roll on with it. And as long as we're here to support, and the city is here to support, and the CRA continues to support, I have no doubt that we'll be able to move this project forward. And again, I will state it again, I believe we are breaking ground this summer.
All right, all right, all right.
Sounds very, very promising. Thank you so much for that report, updated information. Thank you for that. Anybody will make a motion?
I move that we approve item 5.
Second.
Been properly moved in second.
Subject to any, I think per the direction that the applicant just made, that the motion should be approval subject to minor changes approved by legal counsel for the board.
The maker of the motion accepts.
I do accept.
Second of the motion accept.
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes.
can Authority Council repeat the last part, please? Just subject to what, Mr. Alshire? I just want to make sure I get that.
Subject to any minor changes approved by legal counsel.
Thank you.
And we're ready for the vote.
Board Member Hobson,
Yes.
Board Member Thomas,
Yes.
Authority Vice Chair Hicks.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, we've been told we need to continue this item to our next meeting, so with no objections, we continue item number 7. Item number 8, consider an update of the Leonardo Drive construction project. Staff.
So, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, I did prepare a fairly complete staff report updating the progress on the Leonardo Drive construction. And actually, I think for the first time, I gave you a copy of our permit tracking log, so you can see what the status of all of the different permits that we have, from the street improvement program to landscaping to some of the environmental permits and utilities and all of that, and where they are. Just about everything is approved, and some things are approved and we haven't pulled the permit yet because the contractor, the award to the subcontractor hasn't occurred, and they're the ones that actually come in and pull the permit, but they've been through the approval process. Also gave you a copy of the sort of project budget dated as of November. I've got a new one, but I just got it last week and not in time to kind of go through it with RES and to get it on for this meeting, but it'll be on your agenda for next month. So we're gonna try to keep you updated on the financial, on the status of the permits and the work. So I've got a fairly short PowerPoint that I'm gonna do in just a minute. And then at the end of it, we've got a video. So Snyder Langston, the general contractor, actually sends a drone up once a month. Usually it's in the middle of the month. And I'm going to show you December video because in January when they went up, everything was mud. And it just was flooded and it was muddy, and they were doing dewatering and they were just pumping. And so it didn't show a lot of progress. But with that, let me turn to the presentation itself. I'm gonna refresh you on some of the design issues that we had to deal with in sort of picking up the project from where we had left it off in 2019, and things that were unresolved and things that even the prior owner had not fully entitled or designed. Then the status of the permitting, I just mentioned the permit log, and then a construction update, and then I'm going to bring you up to speed on some of the ongoing challenges. And I'll be doing that as I go along. So the infrastructure is the street work, it's the utility work. Most of the utilities are in the street, and it's the environmental work. The environmental work meaning the buffer zone, which is liner on the cell 2 side, but it's also the installation of landfill gas vaults, of which 13 need to go in on cell 2 as part of the buffer, as part of the landfill gas system, but it's integrated with the buffer design. And then there's a landfill gas header, which is an 8-inch pipe that's buried about 17 feet down below, that actually collects all the landfill gas from the wells on cell 2, and then ultimately through laterals from cell 3, 4, and 5, and then takes that gas all the way over to the landfill operation center, completely on the other side of the site. The CRA is responsible for the streets and utilities, and so these photographs, the one on the left is actually the Leonardo Depression, and you've heard us talk about that over the years. And the Leonardo Depression exists because under the old plan, the old Carson Marketplace plan from 2006, the developer thought it would be great to have a sunken street, like the way they do freeways. Freeways in certain areas, like Carson Street, for example, and the 110, you drive over it. That's what this was going to be like. So they excavated 60,000 yards of dirt, and the street was going to be way down there, and then there were going to be bridges over between cell 2 and cell 3, 4, and 5. That didn't happen. And by the time we had acquired the site in 2015, the design had changed back to the street was going to be at grade. But in the meantime, in 2011, and that's what my little hand-drawn diagram in the middle is, the sewer line and the storm drain line were installed under Leonardo, under the depression. So they're 5 feet or so below the level of the grade there. But ultimately, when you bring that street back to grade, everything's now like 30 feet under the ground. And so there was a whole bunch of engineering that had to happen over the number of years, dealing with LA County on the street improvement plan. We've had to deal with Caltrans on the access to the 405 exit and the bridge down to Avalon. That's a Caltrans property. Everything with West Basin and a flushing station, we're having to widen stamps and a whole bunch of other issues. So on the street, I mentioned the wet utilities, and so the photograph on the right is actually them working on the sewer pipe back in the fall. I think this is maybe in October. And so what they had to do with that sunken sewer pipe, which was already installed, is actually excavate over it and then pour a concrete bridge on top of it. And so that sewer pipe is now encased under concrete. And then when the Leonardo Depression gets filled, that concrete bridge takes the soil load off of that pipe, and it protects the pipe. And so that work is done. That work is basically done. They're still working on some manholes and some laterals and things like that. But that particular scope of work, we finished, thankfully, in December before it really started raining, and we would have had a real mess. The storm drain pipe is different. It's down there at around the same level as a sewer pipe. It's offset a little bit, but it's a much bigger pipe. And so what we had to do is, it's almost 1,000 linear feet, or maybe it was 1,100 linear feet. We had to go pull out the old storm drain pipe, those big concrete pipes, and bust them up and haul it off, and actually put new concrete storm drain pipe in that's has a higher D rating or deloading, thicker pipe, able to withstand the 30 feet of soil that's going to sit on top of it. So we didn't change the alignment, we didn't change the configuration or anything like that. There were other changes we had to make to the storm drain because the hydrology of the site changed with some of the different site plans, but mostly in the depression, we had to replace all that pipe. And so that work is done. And fortunately, we were done by December when it started raining in earnest. So domestic water, that's Cal Water. There was a water plan approved in 2011. We have part of a water system installed, but we had to finish the rest of the system. They actually prepare the plans, and let me see. Cal Water prepares the plans. We have to review them. The big thing with Cal Water is that the water line actually needs to connect to the water line on Avalon. So it's actually got to go over the bridge, the Torrance Lateral Bridge, down that freeway ramp. That's where we need the cooperation of Caltrans, and connect to the water line so that the system is looped and you don't have a dead end. Domestic water system. Um, and then on recycled water, that's a system that we design and not Cal, West Basin reviews and approves. And West Basin came back to us a year ago and said, yeah, this looks good except for one thing. We need a flushing station. And a flushing station is a manhole and an outlet where they can open a valve and then just empty like 50,000 gallons of recycled water into the sewer system. And they do that because we're not going to use that much recycled water. And if it just sits there in the pipe, it's going to stink, and it's going to be unpalatable. Nobody's going to want to use it. So every once in a while, about quarterly, they're going to have to go open that up. So in designing it, we wanted it to remain in the clean right of way, but they don't want to do it on the right of way because they don't want their workers having to go out and have to close the street and all that, like in the middle of the street, and open a manhole and do all that. So it needed to be on private property. Well, there is no private property. We own the property. Well, the private property means it needed to be on cell 2. So we then had to go design it on cell 2. Now it's pile supported. Now, it's over. We have to work it around the liner design, the buffer zone design, and because it's water and it's a water utility on cell 2, and then also then get an easement. And you approved the easement in December, and they approved it in January. And so we started the recycled water work on the site last week on the 20th. Domestic water, there's some design issues. We were ready to start it at the same time last week, but I think they're ready to start Thursday of this week on the 4th on domestic water. So the water, both the recycled water and domestic water, are going to be underway by the end of this week. Recycled water's already started.
Can I interrupt and ask a question?
Sure.
When you're doing the flushing station, and it has to go out on property that we own, how does it get to? Is it going out to the ocean? Where is it going?
It goes to the right into the sewer.
Right into the
Yeah.
sewer.
So they can't just flush it. It's not like New York in the 80s and you open the hydrants and everyone's running around. No, it's in a manhole, and there's a little bit of an air gap, and that they open a valve, and then it just sort of flows over into an open pipe down into the sewer, and then it goes out into the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, and so that connection is being made or has been made.
Yeah, we're constructing it,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll do that. It did cause us to have to go back to LA County and redo our sewer permit. Well, we didn't have to do, we finally convinced them we didn't need a new sewer permit. When they saw 50,000 gallons, they thought it was 50,000 gallons a day, and that we were going to have to get a new permit. And we convinced them that it's only occasional, but they did have to sign off on it, and they didn't like it. They weren't going to sign off on it, and we finally got everything reconciled and with the design that we're building.
Okay, and how often would that have to happen now?
About quarterly.
Quarterly? Okay.
Yeah, maybe in a hot weather, maybe a little bit more often, but it's just enough to just kind of keep.
So that
fresh.
water doesn't become stagnant and
Stagnant,
smelly and all
yeah.
that. Yeah, got it. Okay, thank you.
So probably the biggest challenge that we've run into that we had not anticipated is that we worked for a number of years. CAM, when they were working on their design, had a dry utility design, and they had the electrical design for their mall with Edison. But in 2022, 2023, we started getting back with Edison on what's called the backbone design, which is a conduit that takes the cable from the Edison little point of delivery to the site. We have to construct the vaults and all that. Edison would then come in with the wire, in the conduits, all the equipment in the vaults, and all that. But we were back and forth. There's a whole the whole series of different reports and different studies that Edison had to do in terms of the availability of power in this area, what they can get to us, when they can get it to us. Um, but about a year ago, right about a year ago, I think in February last year, they started raising the issue of the environmental. They'd always raised it. They sort of punted it a little bit and brought it up last year. And by September, they came back to us and said, based on their concerns about the environmental condition on the site. Now, we've talked about their infrastructure being entirely um, in the clean corridor. The Leonardo's clean. That it's not. There's nothing in waste. Obviously, the lines over um, to the individual properties would be above the liner and above waste, but their infrastructure was not. They could not. They couldn't reconcile it, I think, internally, and came back to us in September and said, we are not going to deliver power to the site. We're going to deliver primary power, meaning basically wholesale power, to the edge of the site, to the property line, and then you guys figure it out. That's being a little crass. You guys are going to have to take the primary power and create the infrastructure that's going to be necessary to deliver to your customers. And so we've been on that journey now since September, figuring out what to do. And it means that um, we their design and their what's called a global, and then the engineering assessment report that was done before the global. This is based on Edison. Is that um, we would take power from 3 different substations, and they all have their one's Brine and Nolan, and another one's called Sheldon, and 2 of them are at 1 voltage at 12 kV, one is at 16 kV. It means that different parts of the site will have different voltages. Um, you can't sort of can't mix and match. Um, so we've got electrical planners that are that have drafted the the backbone system, which is the empty conduit and the empty vaults, and I think we're ready to go with that. We have to plan check it now with Edison not kind of in the picture. They don't want to plan check it, and so we will end up plan checking it. I believe we're going to use Transtech, the city's plan checker. They have the ability to plan check the utility design, and we will, when we get to that phase of constructing the street and the street improvement program, we'll put the empty conduit in. We'll construct the vaults and all that. But at the same time, we have what's called the single line design, which is the design for the switchgear. It's the design for uh, all the cabling and really the interconnect between. I just make presentation. We're gonna wait. Let's let's take a little break until
Yeah, we'll need to recess until he returns. So we no longer have quorum at this time.
we're back. Anyway, so that's kind of the update on that. We're gonna have a lot more on that to you over the next couple of months. Um, we also have gas, telecom, and cable, and the city's broadband. I'm putting it out there for those listening in IT. I'm waiting for the design for broadband so that we can include that in our dry utilities. Um, So design challenges. One was that based on the site plan for cell 3, 4, and 5 and the environmental document, we needed to actually widen stamps. And stamps is 80 feet from edge to edge. In order to widen stamps, it meant that we actually have to go dig 16 feet of six, 16 a 16-foot wide strip off of cell 2 and dig all the waste out and backfill it with clean so that we can build the street partly on cell 2. It means it's in the regulated cell, but it's on clean dirt and all that. But it meant that because it's to accommodate really a double left turn and just a lot of trucks, that we had to move the crosswalk from the west side of that intersection to the east side of the intersection so that people aren't crossing in the path of the left turn truck movement. That meant that when we get to Evolve on the other side of the street, guess what? There's a storm drain there. So we have to move the storm drain box like 20 feet over toward the bridge. We're still working with Evolve on the easements for actually putting the traffic signals on that side. That we did not. It's a long story, but we don't have the easements. We have to get that from them. We discovered that now we need easements on the mini storage and the flood control on the Main Street side too. So we've got to go obtain those easements too for the traffic signals. I mentioned Caltrans and the bridge. When the city and the former RDA had built the bridge back in the early 2010s, they had worked out an agreement. The city was supposed to get, there was supposed to be a relinquishment. We were supposed to get that ramp from the city. We went back to Caltrans back in 2019, and then over the next couple of years, they determined they don't want to relinquish it. They need to own it, but they will give access. And there's a whole process of what moving what they call the denial of access barriers and all that. That we'll get access to it, but it means that for like Cal Water, for example, when they need to do, if they ever need to do work on the ramp, they've got to go to Caltrans. They were always going to have to do that anyway because it still is a freeway ramp, but it means that they're a little bit more in control. Our power from the east is probably also going to come up that ramp somehow and maybe come to a pole that's really just outside our site. And the two, we'll have two little switch yards, probably one on either side of the bridge, on Leonardo when you come in off the bridge, one on cell 2 and one on cell 5. Then the environmental work. We have to put the buffer in, which is about 20 feet of liner on cell 2. That liner, and you can see there that little part of a diagram, but the liner actually basically has to come down off the cell and then go down and sort of tie in to a little trench, key trench, and to keep it from sort of getting pulled up. And it protects really the soil in the street from any lateral migration of methane from the cell. And then that liner, of course, will install all the way across, the whole cell 2 site. There is a lot of liner already installed on cell 2. Some of that, maybe all of that, is sacrificial when we go redevelop that site. But ultimately the same thing. It may be not buffer zone, but liner will be on cell 3, 4, and 5 as well. We have to do cell 1. I'll get to cell 1 in just a minute. I mentioned earlier that we have the 13 landfill gas vaults in Leonardo. They need to be installed. They're on the site. They're big concrete boxes. They stack on. They're in stacks of 3, and they go down about 25 or 30 feet. down, and then inside the vaults are valves and things like that control the landfill gas system on cell 2, and the sort of connection to the header and the rest of the landfill gas system. Um, then so that's what the vaults look like today, just sitting on the side of the road or sitting on the site, and then they have to be lifted down into their space. And I think that may be lateral pipe. I don't remember what pipe. I think that's lateral pipe. On cell 1, if you remember when we used to go to the trailer, we had the old trailer, and I think I've explained this before. The old trailer was near Leonardo, and when we started on the cell 1 buffer zone design, when we realized that the the slope on from Leonardo up to the top of cell 1 was both encroaching into the right of way, so we would have to cut it back to get the full street in, but also then you had to put the slope back at a slope elevation that's deemed safe, and deemed safe uh, under civil engineering standards. So and so it ended up flattening out the slope to like a 3-to-1, meaning that it's 3 feet of lateral distance for every foot of rise, and potentially even 3.5 feet to 1. And so that meant that the top of the slope on cell 1 was going to be way back, probably either right up to the trailer or maybe even where the trailer is. And so that's part of the design of how that works. And then there's the issue, because it's a buffer, what kind of soil cover do you have on it, on top of the liner, and where it doesn't all just kind of roll down off the membrane liner. So there's we're still working on the cell 1 buffer. The buffer zone design is approved by DTSC, but these are actually kind of civil and geotech issues that get incorporated in there, and so we're still working on that. So that's that. I want to. I'm gonna run this video, and we don't have to watch the whole thing. I'll just let it run, and you can end the meeting while the video is running, because it's like 8 minutes long, and you don't necessarily want to see just sit here and watch it for 8 minutes.
I love
But this is
watching this.
this is
I absolutely
December
love
11th, and you
watching
can
this.
see this is down. Now I have to orient myself. Yeah, this is down looking from the bridge down back headed toward Main Street, and you can see it's all torn up. There's a storm drain pipe going in, and cell 2 is off on the right hand side. These are probably laterals that they're putting in. I don't know exactly what these side trenches are, but all these trenches, when the guys down there, they've got to put the shoring boxes in, and when they're actually down, like when they were actually in the sewer pipe trench and all that. I think he's measuring right now, like how far down they are, so that they can excavate to the right depth and not more. The road itself, all of this was this was all vegetated a year ago, and it's been cleared and grubbed, and they have started in the last week backfilling the Leonardo Depression at the west end, and they're excavating fill from what we call North Leonardo, which is really near Main Street, because that elevation has to come down to accept the base. and they're taking that dirt and filling in the depression. But they had to wait for a number of very warm 80-degree days because it was very mucky down at the bottom of the depression with mud and still some water from the very heavy rain. And so, and they can't backfill with that. They can't get the tractors in there without getting stuck in the.
JR, between the two areas where you see the high elevation and the low elevation,
Yeah.
which side is the road?
That high, the road is actually on. It's on the right hand side. That high elevation that you saw there, I think, was an access road that they've put in there to get back and forth so that they're not driving through the through the work site. And then that'll come down when they backfill and they grade and all that.
So as we were looking at the video and we saw where you can enter off of Del Amo,
Right.
that was stamps coming in, right?
That's stamps coming in where the
Okay,
gate.
so which means that then if we're coming in on stamps and to the left of that, which would be the east, then that's cell 2.
Cell 2, and that's where we're going to widen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And there's
And this is cell. What cell is this one?
So this is coming up on cell 1.
Okay.
That was on the right. This is, I don't know where we are. This is back.
So this is off the bridge right here.
Yeah, here's the bridge right here.
Yeah.
And you can see, remember the bridge used to. Oh, there we go.
That was quick. 8 minutes.
Great. It was not 8 minutes.
That was quick.
Okay. Anyway, the bridge. Remember the bridge used to end, and then there'd be like a 10-foot drop.
Yeah.
So they filled all the way up to the.
Yeah.
All the way
They've,
up to the
they've
bridge.
done a lot of work.
And
A lot of work. That's
so there.
impressive.
A lot of work.
But a lot of the work that they had to do was that sort of handwork, with the sewer and the storm drain pipe and all that. So over the next couple of months, we start to get into more, and they still have the other wet utilities, the recycled water and the other water. But this summer, you'll start to see the actual grading of the street and putting in what starts to look like a street. They've got median islands. There's electric to the median islands. There's water to the median islands. Things like that go in. Remember, we're also doing work on Del Amo, right? So
Right.
we're putting street lights in on Del Amo median. That means we have to reconstruct the Del Amo median. The city changed its landscape palette, so we've got all new landscaping going in on Del Amo median. And again, we've got traffic signals at Stamps and Del Amo, traffic signals at Main and Leonardo, and just trying to get Main and Leonardo is very tight because you have the lateral, and you've got foundations for that lateral, and you have foundations for the bridge, and places where you can actually put a 4-foot by 4-foot foundation for traffic signals is really tight. It's really tight. And
So I'm sorry. So Leonardo is running east and west.
Leonardo runs from. Remember, it's
From
that
Maine.
dog leg, right? So
Yes, and yeah.
If you start in Maine and head east, you'll go kind of due east, and then it'll bend, and you'll go southeast.
South. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why when you think about you're only a few hundred feet from Del Amo when you come out at Leonardo and Maine.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about where you come out over the bridge and end up on Avalon,
Mm-hmm.
you're only a few hundred feet from 213th.
Yeah.
And when you think about driving from 213th to Avalon, up Avalon to Del Amo, how far that is,
Yeah.
just on that distance, that's the sort of, that's the angle and
The width.
Yeah.
So it's really a diagonal almost,
Yeah.
and in that shape, it's I don't want to say it's going to be a great shortcut in the city, but for the people that will know it, it's going to be a great shortcut in the city.
Definitely.
Impressive.
Definitely.
Impressive.
Thank-
Just real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. So, if we're looking at breaking ground this summer, where would you be breaking ground, if I may? If I may, I'm just curious. What cell?
But really,
In cells 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
I just thought that was important to say that.
Come up quickly. Quick.
I'm back again. That's an awesome video and awesome presentation. Great job,
Yes.
director. Um, so one of the things that you guys touched on is Stamps also is a native haul is a native soil route, right? Stamps is the road that connects to Del Amo. It hooks all the way back around. It some of the historic pictures that JR was able to share with you showed that it not only connects to Del Amo, cuts across Leonardo, but would hook back around and reconnect with Leonardo right before the bridge.
Yeah.
The design currently permitted for cells 3, 4, and 5 keeps most of Stamps, but also alters it a bit. We're actively considering a design that would go back to keeping Stamps in its current configuration, which would make that another, call it quasi-public road or public road, to create greater circulation within the city and greater opportunity for some of the dry and wet utilities as well. Mm-hmm. So that I know that that's also a scope of work that will be something the CRA board will be considering here in the future. The only last little thing I wanted to add is the engineering marvel that is the work that is being done on this site is truly exceptional. It is LAX level kind of issues that are being faced because of just the amount of jurisdictions in this relatively small, it's 157 acres, so it's not small, but in this somewhat contained area is unbelievable. One thing to keep in mind is that distinction that JR mentioned about the Caltrans not doing a relinquishment, but keeping that means that path, that walkway, so the sidewalk that you would take as a pedestrian coming from Avalon, going north, turning left, now heading into the 157, will now still be controlled by Caltrans, which could impact the ability for the city to turn that into an art walk or a heavily landscaped. So like it's a minor thing for this project, but it could have some impacts down the road, and it's not something that we love, but we had to agree with it to keep the project moving.
Sometimes you got to do a little bit to get something else.
Yeah, compromises.
You counter compromise. Yep. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you again, JR, for that comprehensive
Excellent,
report,
excellent.
outstanding report. At least we got to see some visuals and people got to see exactly what's been going on up there.
Absolutely.
As we've been working very diligently to make sure this happens, it's been a long process. I think many have tried, few have completed. So we are at the road of making this a completed process at this given time. Yes. And again, thanks to our council, thanks to the clerk and our treasurer to keep us on board and keep us flush at some point with a couple of nickels every now and then. Any of my colleagues have any item they want to discuss? Anything they want to comment?
No, just want to, if I may, just keep in mind this is the month of February, is Black History Month. A lot of celebrations are going to be happening, but the Carson Black History Program will take place on Friday, February 27th, 6 p.m. at the Community Center. Lots of plans being made. Put it on your calendar. Plan to attend.
Thank you. That's a very good day. 2 days after my birthday, so that's always good. Opposite? None. Also, happy Valentine's Day to those who have a Valentine's, and if you don't have one, happy Valentine's Day to you. And again, I talked about it. My birthday is on the 25th, so it's always to right after the city's anniversary, and that's going to be right before the Black History Month program. So, thanks to the Carson's Cultural Citizens Cultural Arts Foundation for also supporting and putting this event on here in the city. For the good of the order, any staff, any comments from staff or from council? Hearing none, we are adjourned.